The crystal spires of New Coral City gleamed beneath the purple waters of Valani Prime. Schools of luminescent fish swam between the towering structures while gentle currents carried the sweet songs of the Valani through their underwater paradise. Admiral Zephyra floated in her command center, her translucent fins rippling with worry as she watched the tactical display. Red markers filled the holographic map. Each one represented a Krex warship moving closer to their peaceful world. The Valani had never known war. Their 7 ocean worlds had existed in harmony for thousands of cycles, trading art and music with neighboring species. They built cities that worked with nature, not against it. Their weapons were designed to stun, not kill. The Krex were different. They came from a harsh desert world where only the strong survived. Their ships were black metal fortresses covered in spikes and weapon ports. They conquered weaker species and forced them into slavery. Now they wanted the Valani's rich ocean worlds for themselves. "Admiral, the outer colonies have gone silent," reported Communications Officer Lithia, her voice trembling through the water. "We lost contact with Blue Haven 30 minutes ago." Zephyra's heart sank. Blue Haven housed over 2 million Valani, mostly children and artists. The colony's only defenses were a few patrol boats with stunning nets. Against Krex dreadnoughts, they might as well have thrown shells. "What about the hegemony?" Zephyra asked. "Have they responded to our request for aid?" Lithia shook her head sadly. "Nothing, Admiral. Our ambassadors say the Hegemony Council is still debating whether to help us. They want to avoid a larger war with the Krex Dominion. The Hegemony was a collection of warrior species who sometimes helped weaker races, but only when it served their interests. The Valani had hoped their reputation for peaceful cooperation would count for something. Apparently it did not. Another red marker appeared on the display. Then another. The Krex were bringing more ships than expected. This was not just a raid for slaves. They planned to take everything, Admiral. "Incoming transmission from the Krex fleet," announced Tactical Officer Merhan. "Put it through." A harsh voice filled the command center, speaking the crude Krex language. The translation came through clearly enough. "Valani scum, surrender your worlds. Submit to Krex rule and your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will make your suffering last for generations." Zephyra's fins flared with anger, but she kept her voice calm. "This is Admiral Zephyra of the Valani Republic. Our worlds are peaceful. We have no quarrel with the Krex. Please withdraw your forces." Cruel laughter echoed through the water. "Your weakness disgusts us, fish thing. We will use your pretty cities as target practice. Your young will serve as slaves in our minds. Prepare to die." The transmission ended. Around the command center, Valani officers looked at each other with growing fear. Their beautiful world would soon become a battlefield. "Options?" Zephyra asked quietly. "Our defense fleet has 47 vessels," reported Merhan. "Mostly research ships with light defensive weapons. The Krex have brought over 200 warships, including 12 dreadnoughts. Evacuation? Not enough transport ships, Admiral. Maybe 10% of our population could escape before the Krex arrive." Zephyra closed her eyes and made the hardest decision of her life. "Send out an emergency broadcast. All frequencies. Maximum power. Admiral, if the Hegemony will not help us, maybe someone else will. There are other warrior species in the galaxy. Someone must have honor left." The communications officer worked quickly, sending out a desperate message across the stars. The signal contained everything they knew about the Krex attack, tactical data, and a simple plea for help. Any species capable of faster-than-light travel would be able to understand it. But space was vast, and the signal would take time to reach anywhere useful. The Krex would arrive in 6 hours, far across the galaxy, in a small solar system that most star charts ignored. The signal reached a blue and green world called Earth. The planet's single moon hosted a small defense station where Captain Jake Morrison was enjoying his morning coffee and reading reports about asteroid mining operations. The alien transmission hit Earth's deep space, receivers like a thunderbolt. Warning alarms blared through Luna Station as communication arrays automatically began decoding the strange signal. "Captain Morrison to the bridge," came the announcement over the intercom. Jake put down his coffee and hurried to the command center. His crew was already gathered around the main display, staring at symbols and images they had never seen before. "What do we have?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Tony Green looked up from his console. "Sir, we received a transmission from outside our solar system. The computer thinks it is some kind of distress call." "From where?" "Unknown, sir." The signal came from somewhere past Proxima Centauri. Way past, Jake felt his heart racing. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. They had sent a few exploration ships to nearby systems, but found nothing except empty planets. Most people still believed Earth was alone in the universe. Can we decode it? Working on it, sir. Dr. Lisa Park is on her way up from the linguistics lab. 20 minutes later, Dr. Park arrived with her team of language experts. They had been working on theoretical alien communication protocols for years, never expecting to use them. The message uses mathematical principles for translation, Dr. Park explained as she worked. Whoever sent this knows how to talk to species they have never met before. Images began appearing on the screen. Beautiful underwater cities with crystal spires, graceful beings with translucent fins swimming through coral gardens. Then the images changed. Black warships firing red beams of destruction, cities burning, beings in chains being dragged away to slave ships. Dear God, whispered Jake. The final part of the message was coordinates and a desperate plea for military assistance. Someone out there was dying and they thought Earth could help. Get me Commander Alex Rivera at Earth Defense Command, Jake ordered. Priority 1. Sir, should we alert the civilian government? Jake looked at the images of destruction and slavery on his screen. Somewhere in the stars, innocent people were about to die. Yes, alert everyone. It looks like we are not alone after all. The transmission had reached the wrong species. The Villani thought they were calling powerful warriors from the hegemony. Instead, their desperate message had found its way to a small planet, where a relatively young species was just learning to reach for the stars. But sometimes the wrong species is exactly the right one. The emergency session of the United Earth Council had never seen anything like this. President Nathan Cross stood before representatives from every nation on Earth, showing them images of alien worlds and the creatures that lived there. The room was completely silent as the Villani distress message played for the third time. Ladies and gentlemen, President Cross said, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was revealing. We are not alone in the universe. And right now an entire peaceful civilization is about to be destroyed. The images of Krex warships attacking Villani cities played again. The footage showed beings that looked almost like living crystals being dragged from their homes by heavily armored reptilian creatures. Children crying as their parents were forced into slave ships. The message was intended for someone called the hegemony, continued the president, a group of warrior species that apparently sometimes helps weaker races. But the signal reached us instead. Representative Maria Santos from Brazil raised her hand. Mr. President, what exactly are you asking us to do? We have never even met these aliens. Why should Earth get involved in their war? President Cross looked at the images on the screen. Because it is the right thing to do. Because we cannot stand by and watch genocide happen when we have the power to stop it. The debate that followed was heated, but brief. Some representatives worried about the cost and risk. Others pointed out that Earth's small fleet was no match for hundreds of alien warships. But the images of Villani children in chains settled the argument. The vote was unanimous. Earth would respond to the distress call. Admiral Grace Sullivan received the order at Terra Base, humanity's main military shipyard orbiting Mars. She had been expecting the call ever since Luna Station forwarded the alien transmission. Grace was a tough woman who had worked her way up through the ranks during humanity's expansion into space. She understood better than most what Earth's small fleet was capable of. How many ships can we deploy? Asked General Bob Hayes during the emergency briefing. 12 vessels ready for immediate departure, Grace replied. 3 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, and 3 support ships. Not exactly an invasion force. What about weapons? Standard Earth Defense Force equipment. Railguns, nuclear torpedoes, plasma cannons. Our ships are built tough, but they were designed to fight other human vessels, not alien technology. Dr. Kevin Walsh from the Advanced Research Division spoke up. We have been analyzing the technical data from the Villani transmission. Their technology is more advanced than ours in some ways, but the Krex seem to rely on energy weapons and shields. Our kinetic weapons might surprise them. Meaning? Meaning they probably do not expect someone to shoot solid metal slugs at near light speed. Most civilizations seem to have moved past projectile weapons. Admiral Sullivan nodded. How long to reach the Villani system? 4 days at maximum hyperspace speed, replied Navigation Officer Carl Brooks. But sir, we will be completely cut off from Earth. No reinforcements, no supply lines. Then we better make sure we win quickly. While the fleet prepared for departure, Marine Colonel Sam Cooper was selecting assault teams for what might be humanity's first alien boarding action. His Marines trained in zero-gravity combat, but fighting unknown alien species would be completely different. What do we know about Krek's physiology? Sam asked Dr. Jennifer Walsh, Kevin's sister and the fleet's xenobiology expert. Based on the images, they appear to be large reptilian humanoids, probably stronger than humans but possibly slower. Their armor looks heavy, which suggests they rely on protection rather than mobility. Weaknesses? Unknown. We will have to figure that out the hard way. Sam's Marines spent the next 3 days practicing boarding actions against mock alien ships. They trained with every weapon in Earth's arsenal, from traditional firearms to cutting torches for breaching alien hull materials. Nobody knew what they would face, so they prepared for everything. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Park and her linguistics team worked around the clock to improve Earth's ability to communicate with alien species. The Volani message had included basic translation protocols, but talking to hostile Kreks would be a different challenge entirely. Their language seems very aggressive, Lisa explained to Admiral Sullivan. Lots of concepts related to dominance and submission, very different from the Volani, who have dozens of words for different types of cooperation. The human fleet launched on schedule, 12 ships carrying humanity's hopes into the unknown. As they entered hyperspace, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his destroyer USS Freedom and watched the stars stretch into lines of light. "Think we can actually help them, Captain?" asked his executive officer, Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams. "I honestly do not know, Pete, but we have to try." 4 days later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Volani system. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. 12 massive Kreks dreadnoughts were systematically destroying the last Volani stronghold on the third planet. The beautiful crystal cities were burning underwater as Kreks weapons turned the ocean itself into steam. Smaller Kreks ships hunted down fleeing civilian vessels like wolves chasing sheep. Communications. "Try to raise the Kreks fleet," ordered Admiral Sullivan from her flagship USS Defiance. "Open channel, Admiral. Attention Kreks vessels. This is Admiral Grace Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. You are attacking a peaceful civilization. Cease fire immediately and withdraw your forces." The response came quickly, translated by the computers into flat mechanical English. "Unknown primitive species. You do not belong here. Leave now or be destroyed with the fish creatures." "They are refusing to withdraw, Admiral." Grace looked at the tactical display. 12 enemy dreadnoughts plus over 50 smaller warships against her 12 ships. The smart thing would be to retreat and call for help. But help was days away and the Volani were dying right now. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. We came here to stop a genocide. The enemy has refused our request to withdraw. I know the odds look bad, but remember something. We are humans. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We survived ice ages and asteroid impacts and plagues that wiped out most other species. We are the descendants of persistence hunters who could chase down prey for days without stopping." She paused, watching the Kreks weapons tear apart another Volani city. These alien bullies picked the wrong species to mess with. All ships weapons free. Show them what angry humans can do. The human fleet charged forward, their railguns already spinning up to firing speed. Behind them, the first Volani survivors were detecting the newcomers on their sensors. Admiral Zafara watched from her command bunker as 12 small ships raced toward the massive Kreks fleet. "Who are they?" asked one of her officers. "I do not know," Zafara replied. "But they came when we called for help." The humans were about to give the galaxy its first lesson in what happened when a Deathworld species went to war. The first salvo from the human fleet caught the Kreks completely by surprise. 12 ships firing solid metal slugs at incredible speed struck the nearest Kreks dreadnought, before its crew even realized they were under attack. The railgun rounds punched through energy shields that were designed to stop plasma bolts and laser beams, but not chunks of dense metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Fleet Commander Thacklon of the Kreks Dominion watched his forward shields collapse and hull plates tear away like paper. Warning alarms filled his command bridge as damage reports flooded in. "What kind of primitive weapons are these?" he roared at his tactical officer. "Unknown, Fleet Commander. They appear to be using kinetic projectiles. Our shields are not calibrated for this type of attack." "Kinetic projectiles? What kind of savage species still throws rocks at their enemies?" The answer came in the form of 6 nuclear torpedoes that slammed into the dreadnought's port side. The Kreks had energy shields and armor designed to absorb directed energy weapons. Nuclear explosions were something their designers had never considered. The dreadnought KDS Crusher broke apart in a brilliant flash of atomic fire. Captain Jake Morrison watched the enemy flagship die and felt no satisfaction. These Kreks had been slaughtering innocent civilians for hours. One ship down was a good start, but 11 dreadnoughts remained, plus dozens of smaller vessels. Target the next largest ship, Jake ordered. Load armor-piercing rounds. The USS Freedom's railgun swiveled toward a Krek's heavy cruiser that was turning to engage them. The human destroyers were much smaller than the alien warships, but they were also much faster. Earth ships had been built to survive in the dangerous asteroid fields of the outer solar system. They could take a beating and keep fighting. Commander Alex Rivera led a squadron of human fighters against the Krek's interceptors that were swarming toward the main fleet. Human fighters were ugly compared to the sleek alien craft, but they were built like flying tanks. Earth's pilots had trained in the radiation storms around Jupiter and the crushing gravity wells near the sun. Remember, these aliens have never fought humans before, Alex told his pilots over the radio. They do not know what we are capable of. Use that. The human fighters attacked in ways that violated every rule of civilized space combat. Instead of maintaining formation and exchanging long-range fire, they dove straight into the enemy formation like kamikaze pilots. They used their ships as battering rams when their weapons ran low. They coordinated attacks with a precision that seemed impossible to the Kreks, who were used to fighting individual duels between warriors. On the surface of Valani Prime, Admiral Zafara watched the impossible battle unfolding above her world. The small human fleet was somehow winning against overwhelming odds. Every time a Krek ship focused on one human vessel, 2 others would appear from unexpected angles to tear it apart with those devastating kinetic weapons. Admiral, the humans are requesting permission to land assault troops, reported Communications Officer Lithia. Assault troops? On which ships? They want to board and capture the Krek's vessels, Admiral. Zafara's fins trembled with shock. Boarding actions had not been used in galactic warfare for centuries. Most species considered them primitive and barbaric. The idea of actually fighting hand-to-hand inside an enemy ship was almost unthinkable. Tell them they have our permission for anything that will stop the Kreks. Colonel Sam Cooper led the first boarding assault against a damaged Krek's cruiser. His Marines wore heavy armor designed for the worst environments Earth could offer. They cut through the alien hull with plasma torches and poured into the ship's corridors like a flood of destruction. The Krek's crew had never faced anything like human Marines in close combat. The aliens were larger and stronger than humans, but they fought as individuals. Each Krek's warrior expected to face single opponents in honorable duels. Instead, they found themselves attacked by coordinated teams that moved like pack hunters. Human Marines used tactics that shocked the Kreks. They threw grenades around corners. They used smoke and flashbang devices to confuse their enemies. They attacked from above and below, using every dimension of the ship's interior. When they ran out of ammunition, they used knives and bare hands with a savage determination that terrified the alien warriors. These creatures fight like animals, one Krek's officer reported before a human combat. Knife found his throat. The Marines captured the ship's bridge in less than 20 minutes. Colonel Cooper stood over the surrendering Krek's captain and spoke through his helmet's translator. This ship now belongs to Earth. Your crew will be treated according to the laws of war, but if you have harmed any Valani civilians, you will answer for it. The Krek's captain looked into the human's eyes and saw something that made his blood run cold. These aliens did not just fight to win. They fought with the righteous anger of protectors defending the innocent. Admiral Sullivan watched her tactical display as more Krek ships fell to human assault. The enemy fleet was larger, but they were not prepared for Earth's brutal style of warfare. Human ships rammed enemy vessels when their weapons failed. Marines captured enemy ships and turned their guns against their former allies. Pilots flew suicide missions to take out key targets. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the remaining Krek ships, reported her communications officer. Put it through. The voice of Fleet Commander Thaklan filled the bridge, but now it carried fear instead of arrogance. Unknown species, you fight without honor. You use weapons and tactics that violate all civilized rules of war. Grace smiled coldly. We fight to protect innocent people from bullies and slavers. If you do not like our methods, you should not have started this fight. We demand that you withdraw immediately. The Krek's Dominion has treaties with powerful species. If you interfere with our operations, you will face the wrath of our allies. Your threats do not impress us. You have exactly 10 minutes to surrender or withdraw. After that, we will destroy every ship in your fleet." The transmission ended. Grace looked at her tactical display. The human fleet had taken casualties, but they were winning. 3 Krex dreadnoughts were destroyed, 2 more were captured by Marine boarding parties, and the rest were trying to retreat. Captain Morrison's voice came over the fleet communication channel. "Admiral, the Krex are launching escape pods toward the planet's surface. It looks like they are trying to take Villani hostages. Negative. Do not let a single Krex reach the surface. Dr. Park, can you translate a message to the civilian population?" "Yes, Admiral. Tell the Villani to take cover. We are going to show the Krex what happens when humans get really angry." The remaining human ships dove toward the planet's atmosphere, hunting down Krex escape pods with the same relentless determination their ancestors had shown when tracking wounded prey across the African savanna. No Krex would escape to harm more innocent people. Above them, Fleet Commander Thaklan made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. He activated his ship's emergency beacon and sent a message that reached every Krex base within 50 light-years. "Unknown species has attacked the Villani operation. Massive casualties. Request immediate reinforcement. These aliens fight like demons. They show no mercy and use impossible tactics. Send everything we have." The message was intercepted by human communication arrays. Dr. Lisa Park translated it quickly and sent the information to Admiral Sullivan. "Admiral, the Krex are calling for help." "A lot of help," Grace nodded grimly. "Then we better finish this quickly and prepare for round 2. The battle for Villani Prime was ending, but the war was just beginning. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Now the rest of the universe would learn what it meant to face a species that had evolved on a world where only the strongest, smartest, and most determined survived. The emergency meeting of the Krex High Command took place in the shadow of their homeworld's 3 moons. War Marshal Grixtar stood before the holographic displays showing the disaster at Villani Prime. The greatest military force in this sector of the galaxy had been humiliated by an unknown species using primitive weapons and savage tactics. 75 ships destroyed or captured, reported Intelligence Chief Vakshan. Fleet Commander Thaklan is dead. The surviving vessels report that these humans fight like nothing we have ever encountered. War Marshal Grixtar's scales darkened with rage. The Krex Dominion had built their empire on the fear and respect of weaker species. If word spread that some unknown primitives had defeated their forces, other conquered worlds might start getting ideas about rebellion. "What do we know about these humans?" Grixtar demanded. "Very little, War Marshal. They come from a small blue planet in an uncharted system. Their technology appears crude but effective. They seem to have no concept of honorable warfare." "No concept of honor?" "Explain." "They attack multiple targets simultaneously. They use their own ships as weapons. They board enemy vessels and fight hand-to-hand like animals. They show no mercy to defeated enemies." Grixtar's claws extended. "Barbarians. We will show them how civilized species conduct war. Assemble the Crimson Fleet, every ship, every warrior. We will crush these upstart primitives and make an example of their world." The Crimson Fleet was the pride of the Krex military. 75 capital ships with veteran crews who had conquered dozens of star systems. They launched within days, carrying enough firepower to sterilize entire planets. Back in the Villani system, Admiral Grace Sullivan was preparing for exactly this response. The human fleet had captured enough Krex equipment to understand their technology and communication protocols. Dr. Kevin Walsh's team worked around the clock to integrate alien systems with Earth technology. "Admiral, we are detecting massive hyperspace signatures," reported Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams from his sensor station. "Looks like the Krex are bringing friends." "How many friends?" 75 capital ships, Admiral. Plus escorts. They will arrive in 6 hours. Grace looked at her own forces. 12 ships, 3 of them heavily damaged from the previous battle. The smart thing would be to retreat and call for reinforcements from Earth. But the Villani were still vulnerable, and Earth's nearest ships were weeks away. "Captain Morrison, how many nuclear warheads do we have left?" "About 60, Admiral. Plus whatever we can salvage from the captured Krex ships." "Dr. Walsh, what is the status on those weapon modifications?" Kevin Walsh looked up from his computer terminal. "We have successfully integrated Krex shield generators into our remaining ships. The captured vessels are fully operational under human crews. But Admiral, even with the additions, we are still outnumbered 5-1. Then we will have to be clever. Grace had been studying the tactical reports from the first battle. The Kreks fought like warriors from an honor culture. They expected enemies to meet them in open battle, ship against ship. They did not expect the kind of total war that humanity had perfected on Earth. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. The enemy is coming with overwhelming force. They expect us to either run away or meet them in a traditional battle. We are going to do neither. Over the next 6 hours, the human fleet disappeared. Some ships hid behind asteroids in the system's outer belt. Others positioned themselves near the star where solar radiation would mask their signatures. The captured Kreks vessels were sent to the system's edge, broadcasting false signals to confuse enemy sensors. When War Marshal Grigstar's fleet arrived, they found nothing but empty space and the wreckage from the previous battle. "Where are they?" Grigstar demanded. "No contacts on sensors, War Marshal. They must have fled when they detected our approach. Cowards. Begin bombardment of the Villani homeworld. We will finish what we started." That was exactly what Admiral Sullivan had been waiting for. The moment the Kreks fleet entered orbit around Villani Prime, her ships attacked from every direction at once. Nuclear mines that had been seeded throughout the asteroid belt detonated as Kreks ships passed through. Human vessels emerged from solar flares and radiation shadows to strike at the enemy's flanks. The captured Kreks ships turned their weapons against their former allies, causing confusion and panic in the Dominion fleet. Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams led a squadron of fighters on a suicide run against the Kreks flagship. They had strapped nuclear warheads to their ships and programmed them for collision courses. The Kreks point defense systems were designed to stop energy weapons, not determined pilots flying bombs. "This is Williams. We are going in. Tell my wife I love her." The fighters slammed into the massive dreadnought's command section in a series of nuclear explosions that lit up the entire system. War Marshal Grigstar died never understanding how primitives had outfought the greatest military force in Kreks history. Colonel Sam Cooper's Marines had learned to use Kreks teleportation technology from the captured ships. They materialized inside enemy vessels and began systematic boarding actions. Human soldiers appeared in engine rooms, on bridges, and in weapons control centers. They moved through the ships like ghosts, striking from nowhere and vanishing before the enemy could respond. The Kreks crews panicked. Their species had never faced an enemy that could appear anywhere on their ships without warning. Human Marines used the aliens' own corridors against them, turning each vessel into a maze of death traps. "Admiral, the Kreks are trying to retreat," reported Captain Morrison from his captured dreadnought. "Negative. Do not let any ship escape. The galaxy needs to understand that attacking innocent people comes with consequences." The battle became a slaughter. Kreks ships that tried to flee found their escape routes blocked by human vessels. Those that stayed to fight were overwhelmed by tactics they could not comprehend. The humans fought like they were personally offended by the Kreks' existence. Dr. Lisa Park intercepted enemy communications and translated them in real time. The Kreks were broadcasting messages of terror and confusion. They called the humans death spirits and void demons. Some ships surrendered rather than face human boarding parties. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Kreks homeworld," Dr. Park reported. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was different from the arrogant Kreks commanders they had faced before. This one carried fear and desperation. "Unknown species, this is High Admiral Zurketh of the Kreks Dominion. We request immediate cessation of hostilities. We are prepared to negotiate terms." Grace smiled coldly. "You can negotiate with the Villani. They are the ones you attacked. As for us, we have a simple message for your Dominion. Leave peaceful species alone or we will come for you next. You do not understand. The Kreks Dominion controls hundreds of worlds. We have allies throughout this sector. If you continue this aggression, you will face the combined might of our empire. Your empire just lost 2 fleets to 12 human ships. Are you sure you want to test us further?" The transmission ended. Around the Villani system, the wreckage of the Crimson Fleet drifted in the void. Not a single Kreks vessel had escaped to carry word of their defeat. Admiral Zephyra floated in her command center, watching the human ships patrol her system like protective guardians. Her people were free, but she wondered what kind of species Earth had unleashed upon the galaxy. "Admiral, the humans are requesting a meeting," reported her communications officer. "Of course. Prepare the diplomatic suite." When Admiral Sullivan arrived at the Vellani capital, she came not as a conqueror but as a protector. The meeting was brief and simple. "Your people are safe now," Grace told the Vellani leader. "But this is not over. The Kreks will try again and they will bring allies. We need to find their slave camps and military bases. We need to end this threat permanently. Admiral Sullivan, why are your people helping us? We have nothing to offer Earth in return." Grace looked at the images of Vellani children who had been rescued from Krek slave ships. Because it was the right thing to do, and because no one should have to face bullies alone. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity did not just fight wars. They fought crusades. The news of the Crimson Fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the great trading stations and diplomatic centers, species that had never heard of humans suddenly found themselves learning about the mysterious newcomers who had humiliated the mighty Krek's dominion. President Nathan Cross stood before the United Earth Council once again, but this time the mood was very different. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and the galaxy had noticed them in a big way. "The Krek's High Command has issued formal surrender terms," announced Secretary of Defense Linda Chen. "They are offering to withdraw from all disputed territories and release their slaves in exchange for a ceasefire. What do our allies think?" asked President Cross. Admiral Zephyra's image appeared on the main display, transmitted from Vellani Prime. "The Vellani Republic supports whatever decision Earth makes. You saved our people when no one else would help. But President Cross, the Kreks cannot be trusted. They have broken treaties before." Dr. Kevin Walsh presented his intelligence report to the Council. "We have identified the locations of 17 Kreks slave processing centers and 43 military installations. Based on captured data, they are holding approximately 50 million beings from over 200 different species." The room fell silent. 50 million slaves. Entire civilizations had been destroyed to feed the Kreks war machine. How long would it take to liberate all the slave camps? President Cross asked. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communication link from her flagship. "With our current forces, Mr. President, years, maybe decades. But sir, we have been analyzing captured Kreks technology. Their ships are powerful, but they are not designed for the kind of warfare we use. If we could build a larger fleet, how much larger? Give me 100 ships and 6 months to train crews and I can end the Kreks dominion permanently." The debate that followed was intense, but brief. Earth's industrial capacity had been mobilized for war, and public opinion strongly supported liberating the alien slaves. The images of children from dozens of species locked in Kreks prison camps had united humanity in a way nothing else could. Operation Liberator began 3 months later. The human fleet had grown to 120 ships, including 30 vessels built using a combination of Earth and captured Kreks technology. Earth shipyards worked around the clock, turning out vessels designed for one purpose: ending the age of the Kreks dominion. Captain Jake Morrison now commanded a fleet carrier called the USS Righteous Fury. His ship carried 200 fighters and enough Marines to assault an entire planet. The vessel was not pretty by galactic standards, but it was built with the over-engineered durability that marked all human technology. The first target was the slave processing center at Graktar Station, where the Kreks sorted their captured victims before shipping them to work camps throughout the Dominion. The station was defended by 30 warships and a massive orbital fortress. The attack began with a coordinated strike by human fighters carrying nuclear warheads. They punched through the station's defenses like a meteor shower, each explosion taking out key defensive positions. Marine dropships followed immediately behind, carrying Colonel Sam Cooper's assault teams directly to the station's slave quarters. The liberation of Graktar Station took less than 4 hours. Human Marines moved through the facility with brutal efficiency, freeing cage after cage of prisoners while Kreks guards either fled or died fighting. The rescued slaves represented dozens of species, some so alien that humans could barely recognize them as intelligent life. "This is Cooper to all units." The colonel's voice came through the communication system. "We have secured the primary detention areas. Estimate 30,000 prisoners freed so far. Dr. Jennifer Walsh worked with teams of alien medics to treat the rescued slaves. Many had been tortured or experimented on by their Kreks captors. Some had been prisoners for so long they had forgotten their own species' names. Admiral, you need to see this," Dr. Walsh reported to Grace Sullivan. "We found the Kreks research laboratories. They have been trying to weaponize diseases from conquered worlds. And Admiral? They have files on Earth. Grace felt her blood run cold. What kind of files? Biological samples. Somehow they obtained human DNA and have been studying our immune systems. They were planning to create a plague specifically designed to kill humans. The discovery changed everything. This was no longer just about liberating slaves or stopping Krek's expansion. The Dominion had been planning genocide against Earth itself. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Sullivan. New intelligence indicates the Kreks have been planning biological warfare against Earth. Operation Liberator is now Operation Endgame. We are going to end this threat permanently. The human fleet struck like an avenging angel across a dozen star systems. Every Krek's military base, every slave camp, every research facility was targeted for destruction. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could coordinate attacks across such vast distances with such precision. Lieutenant Commander Pete Williams led fighter squadrons against the Krek's Naval Academy on their second moon. The facility trained young Krek's officers in the art of conquering weaker species. Now it burned under nuclear fire, while human Marines rescued the prisoners who had been used as training targets. Commander Alex Rivera took his ships deep into Krek's territory to hit their biological weapons laboratories. The facilities were located on isolated worlds where the aliens could conduct their experiments without interference. Rivera's forces destroyed every lab they found and executed every scientist involved in the genocide research. This is Rivera to Fleet Command. Target 7 is neutralized. We found evidence of testing on human prisoners, Admiral. They had captured crew members from our exploration ships years ago. The war became personal in a way that shocked even the humans themselves. Earth's forces had fought to protect the Volani out of moral obligation. Now they fought with the cold fury of a species that had learned their enemies planned to exterminate them. The final battle took place above the Krek's homeworld itself. High Admiral Zerketh had assembled every remaining ship in the Dominion fleet for a last desperate defense of their capital. 200 warships faced the human fleet in the space above the world where Krek civilization had begun. This is Admiral Sullivan to all Krek's forces. You have exactly one chance to surrender. Release all remaining prisoners, submit to war crimes tribunals, and disband your military. Refuse, and we will treat your homeworld the same way you treated the worlds you conquered. The response was a barrage of plasma fire from the entire Krek's fleet. All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The battle above the Krek's homeworld was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships moved through the enemy formation like wolves among sheep, their crews fighting with a determination that bordered on madness. They had seen the slave camps and the biological weapons labs. They had found the remains of human prisoners used in Krek's experiments. Captain Morrison led a boarding assault on the Krek's flagship, fighting his way to the bridge where High Admiral Zerketh waited with his personal guards. The final confrontation was brief and brutal. Your species is finished, Morrison told the dying Krek's leader. The age of bullies and slavers is over. The Krek's Dominion officially surrendered 6 hours later. The remaining Krek's military commanders signed the documents aboard Admiral Sullivan's flagship, surrounded by the rescued representatives of the species they had enslaved. President Cross addressed the galaxy from Earth, his words broadcast to every inhabited world within 100 light-years. The Krek's Dominion no longer exists. Their slaves have been freed. Their weapons have been destroyed. Their leaders will face justice for their crimes. But this is not just about one evil empire. This is a message to every species in the galaxy that preys on the weak. The president paused, looking directly into the camera. Earth is establishing the Terran Protection Compact. Any peaceful species that faces aggression can call on humanity for help. We have seen what happens when good people do nothing while evil spreads. Never again. Admiral Zephyra floated in her rebuilt capital city, watching human ships patrol the space above her world. The crystal spires gleamed once again beneath the purple waters, and Volani children swam safely through the coral gardens. Admiral, incoming transmission from Earth, reported her communications officer. Put it through. Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on the display. Zephyra, we are preparing to return to Earth. The galaxy is safe for now, but there are other threats out there. Other species that might think they can profit from enslaving their neighbors. What will you do, Grace? We will wait. And when the next distress call comes, we will answer it. Because that is what humans do. The transmission ended and Zephyra watched the human fleet form up for the journey home. Their original message had been sent to the wrong species, but it had reached exactly the right one. The galaxy now knew that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, a young species from a dangerous world stood ready to answer the call when evil needed to be stopped. The age of the Deathworlders had begun,